That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Ugh, just about summed up the blast-ended Scroots, in Harry's opinion. They looked like deformed, shell-less lobsters, horribly pale and slimy-looking, with legs sticking out in very odd places and no visible heads. There were about 100 of them in each crate, each about 6 inches long, crawling over one another, bumping blindly into the sides of the boxes. They were giving off a very powerful smell of rotting fish. Every now and then, sparks would fly out of the end of a Scroot, and with a small put, it would be propelled forward several inches. What's up, potheads? Welcome to the Restricted Section, a show in which a bunch of nerds with potty mouths reread the Harry Potter series for the umpteenth time and discuss the way that the story and its themes have stayed with a generation into adulthood. Thanks for listening. If you haven't done the reading, don't worry, we did it for you. Here's what we're talking about this week. Chapter 13, Mad I Moody. This chapter takes us through the first day of term, which is pretty par for the course except for the bit where their new teacher, Professor Alistair Moody, turns Malfoy into a ferret as punishment. Welcome to the Restricted Section, where we do use transfiguration as punishment, but only for bullies. I am enchanted to be joined today by my fastidious friend, Grace. Say hello to the listeners, Grace.
Hello, listeners.
Is it fastidious or like fastidious?
Oh, wow. I've always heard
it's
fastidious, but that's fine.
Okay.
I like fastidious. It's like when you say immediately.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited because our special guest this week is Ethan Edghill, co-host of Bacon and Eggs. Say hello to the listeners, Ethan.
Hello, listeners. I'm waving because I've been doing podcasts for 5 years and can't remember how audio works. Great to be back.
You can hear the wave in your voice.
I try to, that's my whole goal in life is to, you know how they say you can hear a smile through the phone?
Yes.
I try to hear a wave through the phone. I try to project.
That's like next level.
It's next level. It's like smizing, but audio.
Were you a Hufflepuff? Am I remembering that correctly?
Super no.
Super no?
That's the only one I've never gotten, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Remind us what house you are.
Most recent time I took it, I was a Gryffindor. But I traditionally identify as a Ravenclaw.
Okay. Gotcha. Maybe I should have reminded myself of that before we started totally recording.
Fine. Yeah, I'm like a Ravenclaw, like Gryffindor Rising, whatever.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But trying to convey a wave in your smile is a very Hufflepuff thing to do, just saying. Or in your voice.
I do my best to be all of the houses all the time.
I think that's good. Well-rounded.
Divergent.
Exactly.
Divergent.
Yeah, I know how much you love that series.
Remember 5 minutes before when I was like, I'm glad Hunger Games series holds up because every single other dystopia that came after it did not hold
I could hear the Divergent slander in your tone.
She didn't have to say it directly. It was there.
Also, Grace, it's great to see you. It's great to be on a podcast together. Listeners, Grace and I went to high school and middle school together, and we have not spoken in 10 years.
Wow. Missed you, bud.
Missed you, too. It was just one of those things where, when Mary Clay was like, yeah, Grace Ball's is a podcast. I was like, Grace Ball, what a person.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's the wildest part of this is that Mary Clay was the one to connect you guys.
Yeah.
Who, as a reminder, Grace and I know her because she interned for us.
That's so wild.
It's insane. Yeah,
she was a very, very enthusiastic intern.
We tangentially met Mary Clay in college, Tyler and I, so.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was a good time. Old K-Spring High School, class of 2011. We were supposed to have our 10-year reunion this year, but we're having an 11-year reunion instead.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm not old. But I had my 10-year reunion right before COVID, and it was extremely fun. Although I do not recommend taking your introverted spouses. But I had a friend who also brought her introverted spouse, so Sean and Maggie were just sneaking off to eat pizza and stuff.
There you go.
But that does
can you
remind
do?
me, Ethan, congratulations are in order. You're
Thank you.
engaged
Oh, yeah.
to be married.
I got engaged since last time I was on this podcast.
Ew, why does engaged sound disgusting?
I don't
but
know, I don't
engaged
like
is
it.
Yeah.
so delightful.
It's a good time. I've been dating the same girl for almost 6 years, and so
That's
we're
awesome.
getting hitched.
Hell yeah. Let me tell you, as someone who got married last year, this marriage is going to change absolutely nothing, and it's going to be exactly as awesome as it's always been.
I believe it. Yeah, no, she's great. We're getting a dog together next month.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
We have purchased a corgi. Who
Oh
is
my god.
tentatively named Pickles.
Oh my god.
Shut the fuck up.
You want to see a picture? He's the cutest
Yes.
little bean.
All the pictures all the time. That's extremely exciting. Pickles is a great name for a corgi.
Look at this. Oh shoot, I've got a bunch of glare here, but look at this.
No, I
handsome
can
man.
see. That's a baby. That's
Yeah.
a baby.
He is 17, 18 days old in that picture.
That's a
This was
baby.
the,
I'm
this
gonna
is the
start
picture.
crying.
This is the picture that we picked him off of. Little guinea pig looking ass.
Oh my god. I wish
I love
wish that
So-
everyone could see these photographs. Just Google black and white corgi puppy.
I'll
and see
send
what
him to
comes
you,
up.
and you can put him in the description because he's the most cutest guy.
Thank you so much. It's very important.
But yes, that's what's happened in Ethan's life
my
since the last time I was
gosh.
on the restricted section. Y'all took a
Yeah.
summer break.
You did some shit. Damn.
Extreme congrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband when we were dating always told me that when we got married we could get a dog, but we accidentally got 2 more cats instead. So
You
dogs
have so many
not on the
cats.
horizon.
How many cats do you have?
4. It was an
4
accident.
cats? Oh my
It
god.
was an accident. They were fosters that just
It happens.
won't
Yeah,
leave.
it happens.
No one needs like there's plenty of cats getting adopted over the summer every year. There's no way to like foist a cat off on someone.
for real.
So we're
You
just
tried.
I guess these are
Definitely
our
tried.
cats now, because now the one is soul bonded with my husband, the other one's soul bonded with my grumpy man cat. So
Yeah, our DM on Late to the Party just recently acquired a 5th cat.
Okay.
5 is a lot.
Yeah, they have 3 humans and 5 cats living in that house.
See, the trick is that you can't let yourself get outnumbered like that, because then they're just coming from every direction.
Hey, Christina, are you outnumbered? Though
Yes,
you are. Okay. I thought you were saying
Yes.
the trick as in like what you found in your life, and it's
No,
like,
that's
well-
where I went wrong.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think that was like battle advice, like hard won wisdom from the
Don't
field.
make the same mistakes I
Don't
made,
make
kid.
Listen, kid, the trick is you can never have more cats than people in the house.
Oh dear. So yeah, we're talking today about chapter 13 of Goblet of Fire, Mad I Moody, in which we get to hang out a little bit with Mad I Moody. It's like the start of the term, and the mail comes in, there's nothing from Sirius. They go to like their first herbology class where they're collecting
Bubotuber puffs.
Bubotuber pus. I think when I was a kid, I used to read this really quickly and be like butterbeer pus. I was like
Butterbeer
not
pus.
really worry about it.
It just reminded me of the word YouTuber, and I was like, I don't know.
Oh,
about
oh my
that.
god! Like that's like in a dystopian novel. Their version of YouTube would be like BuboTube,
Yeah.
Ugh. That's worse than engaged.
or like maybe like a porn site that's just like BoobTube.
I'm sure that exists.
I'm gonna trademark that.
Once you add pus to that, that's you
Oh.
get,
Okay.
it
Alright.
gets grim real quick.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
they're
it's
gonna
not
have to
great.
do without the pus. No one. Here's the thing: no one wants to read or hear about pus of any sort,
kind.
including BuboTuber. And my favorite line from this is when Seamus is like, "What pus?" and Sprout is like, "Pus, Finnegan, pus."
Pus Finnegan. There's a lot of gross shit that happens in this chapter because this is where we also meet the blasted Scroots.
Yeah. And I have instructions to myself to read the selection. Does anyone have like? Oh no, I think I read it. Wait, give me a freaking second. Oh, I don't remember if I read it in our intro, but maybe I did. Shit. Okay. They looked like deformed, shellless lobsters, horribly pale and slimy looking, with legs sticking out in very odd places and no visible heads.
When I was a kid, I never quite grasped hold of the fact that they grow up to be like gray. I always imagined them like cooked shrimp color.
Yeah.
Like a soft pinky orange.
That is what the illustration depicts.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in this section. It just says pale. I think they grow like plate.
Yeah, they grow like
exoskeleton.
Yeah, and they turn like gray, I believe. But
Yeah,
I've just always
okay.
conveniently ignored that. I've just always thought of them as big, giant fire shrimp.
I think that's right.
I'm with you. These hang around for this book. They come up later in this book. They're kind of like the plague of magical creatures. I would love to see the blast-ended Scroots being ridden into battle during the Battle of Hogwarts,
God.
you know? Just like come at me from either end and I will blast you.
The problem is only one of them survives, if I remember correctly. And I think that Harry gives it the business in the maze.
Gives it the business. Yeah, that does sound right.
Yeah, they're very hostile toward each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so interesting, though, that Hagrid introduces them here, and then they do come up in the tournament. Like,
Yes.
is that a little bit of a Hogwarts advantage?
Oh, interesting. Maybe that's probably something where Hagrid is like, I'm just gonna slide this in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like Cedric and Harry will both know what to do.
they'll be fine. Although Cedric is older than Harry, right? Like he's... So
but like,
I don't think the
wouldn't they?
Scroots would be his problem.
I guess so, but like, aren't they kind of everybody's problem to some extent?
So-
like, they're there
so.
during class.
The way the classes work in this school is maybe my least favorite mechanic of like any book I've ever read. Just because
Yeah.
it's utter nonsense. I don't know how their schedules work whatsoever. They'll have like octuple potions one day. And
Oh my god,
Like,
marathon potion.
it works so conveniently for and I get it, you know, it's a class schedule in a made up school. Like it doesn't really matter, but she's very like she mentions it all the time throughout all 6 books that they're at school.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, well today we have, you know, fucktuple divination. It like it sucks. And like I don't know why.
Right.
Just put them on a block schedule, like AP days. Come on.
To me, it reminds me of how, like, in college, you would have, like, your 50-minute or hour-long classes, but then for labs, you needed, like, extra long time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or like a discussion session.
Right. So, like, potions to me seems like, okay, make it a double.
Right. Yeah, like I remember in high school I took AP Physics and we had to come back after lunch for like AP Physics lab.
Oh. Ugh.
Yeah.
I had such a hard time with science in high school. But here's the thing. Reading science and fiction novels, that's engaging. I just finished reading an Andy Weir book.
Oh, which Project Hail Mary?
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it was extremely
Oh,
good.
it's so good. Everybody should
No
read it.
spoilers. Grace, are you still in the middle of it?
I am.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
All right. keep
Such
me
a good
updated.
book. That was like the 55th book I read this year or something like that.
Yeah, congrats. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I do not know what number it is, but I definitely read it very quickly.
Yeah. I'm up to 157.
Holy crap.
So
Well
I'm
done.
still well short of my goal, but
What's your goal?
my goal's 200 by the end of the year. So that's
Oh,
one
you
per
got
day
it.
till the end of the year.
I think
That's when you
got it.
start reading, like, poetry and chapbooks,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Everything I read in like 4th grade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sideways Stories from Wayside School. You can just rip right through those.
Exactly. Every Magic Treehouse book.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So back to the Scroots.
Yeah.
Draco asks, why would anyone want to raise these? Because their job is to raise these. And I think that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, we very rapidly see that Hagrid is not like a good teacher at anything.
Yeah.
Hagrid illegally bred these.
Right, so like Hagrid made them.
Yeah, we figure that out in the next book, but
I thought that was in this book somewhere.
I don't think so. Maybe Rita Skeeter says something about it.
I think so. I think because she's like poking around one of their classes, their Care of Magical Creatures class, and she's like, "Tell me about these." And Harry, I think, like distracts her from, and he's
yeah,
like,
you're
"These are
right.
probably not ethically sourced."
Yeah, you're right. But then Umbridge brings it up as well in her
Oh, okay,
review. I just blasted through the whole series very recently.
nice.
Yeah. When you contacted me to come on this episode, I've been in an audiobook slump. So I was like, oh, I'll use Harry Potter. Get me out of my slump. Like, if I start Sorcerer's Stone right now, like, I should exactly hit where I need to be. Wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was done with all 7, like, 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I also use Harry Potter to get me out of reading slumps,
Yeah.
especially like this time of year when I'm just like suddenly hit with the seasonal depression, and I'm like, okay, well, now's a good time.
Nothing cures seasonal affective disorder like Harry Potter.
It's true.
Old Harold Potmaker himself.
So basically the students just like try to feed the Scroots, but they don't seem to have mouths. They don't know what they like to eat.
Yeah, Hagrid does not know what they eat.
Yeah, they're blasting, and Hagrid's just like, oh yeah, that happens sometimes. But like Dean gets burned.
Just such a nightmare, dude.
He's not a good teacher, like, at all.
Hard agree. I genuinely don't remember when this is, but when they have like the substitute who shows them the unicorns. When was that? Do you guys remember?
She shows up in, I believe, 3 and 5, but I think she shows them the unicorns in 5.
Okay. Well, whenever it is, that I remember Hermione being like, thank God we finally had like literally one good Care of Magical Creatures class.
Yeah. She's around for, and like, I don't want to get into other books. I do think it's absolutely wild that since it's Hagrid's job to pick up the first years at the beginning of school, it becomes Professor Grubblyplank's job to pick up the first years at the beginning of school. Even though that wasn't a duty of the Care of Magical Creatures teacher.
Oh, yeah. It's like a groundskeeping job.
Right. Or
just like kind of like a school mascot job.
Yeah, just like a Hagrid job. But like it's so wild that like Hagrid's out, and so that duty falls to substitute Care of Magical Creatures teacher.
Yeah, interesting.
That's funny.
I've been thinking about that for weeks now. It just bothers me.
There's a lot of stuff in this series that's gonna bother you.
Even in this
sure.
chapter.
In this very chapter.
Yeah. Do they have so few competent teachers at this school though? Like for being
List them.
McGonagall
and Flitwick.
Yeah.
Snape could be so competent if he just like stopped being an actual bully and like letting his emotions get in the way of his job.
Yeah,
sure.
wow.
And if Harry just paid attention ever.
Right. That's valid.
The thing I hate the most about Harry Potter is that he continuously just bucks off in class all the time, in like every class, right? He's like, oh man, you know what sucks? History of magic. And I'm like, kid, you were living under a staircase.
Yeah.
Like, how did you go from my life is the worst thing ever to like, can't be bothered to pay attention in this magic class?
It's the influence of Ron.
For real.
He's a bad influence. Honestly, it's true because I remember them specifically learning about the Goblin rebellions in History of Magic, and like eventually they have some pretty complicated dealings with a goblin, and it's like, wouldn't it be nice if you knew literally fucking anything
About goblins? Yeah.
They're like, this will never come up again. We don't need it.
I'm pretty sure the Goblin Rebellions is the only thing they talk about in History of Magic. I feel like it comes up constantly that like Professor Binns is talking about Goblin Rebellions.
That's funny.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can't really remember like any other examples. That's pretty funny. Is that also like, are the goblins the ones who like, I think he was talking about them getting like burned or something, and they all had funny names, so Ron was like making them up or whatever. I have like all these like abstract memories of Harry Potter that like they don't have any like place or time. I just like know that it happens somewhere in this 7-book series.
Well, when we get there, we'll be like, we're there.
So few competent teachers. Hagrid not among them. Sprout definitely is one. Although
I think so too.
She's equally as guilty of like, this is a deadly plant. Play with it.
Yeah, I think she is a good teacher, but maybe like a very cavalier disciplinarian and like safety guide, you know, safety patrol.
You know, to be fair, like Hagrid's worst quality is that he doesn't like understand that things are dangerous. You know, like there are worse crimes for sure. And I mean, nothing really bad happens to most people except Malfoy gets torn apart by a hippogriff, which is his own fault.
Yeah, and I think torn apart is a strong word.
Well, I like to, you know, a kid can dream, right?
In the books, he gets like, I think, pretty fucked up, but in the movie, it's like Your clothes
arm
got
hurts.
ripped. It's so dramatic.
My father will hear about this.
Yeah, I also think a difference between Sprout and Hagrid is that, like, I think Sprout is pretty confident that for the most part, whatever might happen to you in the greenhouses, like, Sprout can probably fix it.
Yeah.
Whereas Hagrid can't fix anything. He's not even supposed to use magic.
Yeah, so if a blasted Scroot, like, burns or stings somebody, because they can burn and sting if they're male.
He also probably doesn't have, like, any basic first aid knowledge. Like, he can't do anything. He didn't even put, when Draco got wounded, he didn't even put anything on the wound. He's just like, run. I don't know, run.
Just go to the hospital. You're fine.
Yeah, I mean, he just runs over anxiously when someone gets burned. I can't remember who got burned, but there was no recourse or there was no plan for that at all.
It was Dean, and Hagrid's just like, well, happens.
Hey,
you learned something.
Yeah. This is how you learn, right? You just stuck your finger in the outlet. And by outlet, I mean blasted and Scroot.
Stick a finger in the blast end.
And in true J.K. Rowling fashion, we have to spend time talking about, like, the Scroot genitalia.
Oh my god.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens. I think that happens in this chapter where they're like,
does.
oh, and the females have, like, a sucker on the underneath of them.
Yeah, because Lavender Brown's like, what's this pointy thing? And then Hagrid's like, oh, I think that's a boy one.
Oh my god, wait, I never, like, realized that is that a penis joke? Like, I just thought that they were
There's
pokey.
so many just, like, unfounded jokes.
One of them's got a sting
chapter.
and one of them's got a sucker.
What the fuck? I never realized this before.
This woman's obsessed, okay?
It's weird.
We should have known.
Yeah, the signs were there.
It just never occurred to me. I was like, weird. Was she sucking? I don't get it.
Well, he suggests that it might be blood. Says that
These creatures are terrifying.
I'm like, what even is happening?
Well, and like there somewhere in the movie they're obviously left out entirely, right? Because why would they do that?
Animate.
Yeah, that's a lot to animate. But like in my head, if they had been if movie number 4 had been directed by David Yates, we would have had a montage of like Scroot care that would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
like
with
we
like
see
shenanigans music.
Yeah, exactly. We see the Scroots growing older over time because all they do all year in Care of Magical Creatures is take care of the Scroots.
They would show the passage of time in the films by showing how the Scroots have grown.
Exactly.
It would be a motif, like the Whomping Willow in whatever movie that is.
And Hedwig.
And Hedwig. Who am I, Hedwig?
Who am I?
What am I?
I mean, you can't look. We can't all rely on Bella Swan staring out a window.
Wait, what?
Oh,
Wait.
That was a Twilight reference.
Wait, what do you? I don't get the joke though. What do you mean?
So
like,
there's
rely?
in Eclipse. No, in New Moon, they pass like 6 months of time in like a pan shot.
I see. Yes, I know
around
exactly
Bella's
what you're
head
talking about.
as like the entire year goes by.
Did you read the books or?
I did. Actually, since the last time I talked to you, I have read every Twilight book and seen all the movies.
Congratulations! Wow. How was that vampire C-section for you?
I'll tell you what. If you haven't read Midnight Sun, the Edward perspective version of the first one, don't. It was awful.
Yeah.
Well,
it should be good, right? Because he has like he can hear everyone's thoughts, and like there's a very interesting book to be written about a immortal 17-year-old who can't not hear everybody's thoughts. But Stephanie Meyer was not the person to write that book.
Yeah.
And so instead it's just like rehashed dialogue from 17 different perspectives.
oh man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, it's lunchtime next, and Hermione is like scarfing down her food because she needs to go to the library for reasons.
Don't ask.
She's so sketchy at this point. Like every time, because I forget about the reason, right? Like I know why now, but I forget every time about the thing that she does, and I'm just like, what has Hermione got cooked up? Every time I listen to this chapter.
Yeah, it's because it's really reminiscent of in the last book when she was being all sketchy because of the time turner. She's like, don't ask, I gotta go.
Well, yeah, and in the second book when she disappears to run off and figure out like the basilisk thing, but also gets petrified.
Right.
Yeah.
She's always just be disappearing and
She's
getting in trouble.
always just like creeping around doing some shenanigans.
Really, she just needs her space from these fucking dudes.
I mean, get it, dude.
For sure, but every time she leaves them, something bad happens to her.
That's true. And probably them. That's the thing, is they're stupid lucky, and when they separate, she has like the bad luck, even though she gets so much
by
more
a troll.
capable. Right. So we know she's going to the library because she's preparing spew. That's like her thing right now. What do we think she's doing in the library?
Like to prepare.
Yeah, like what books is she looking at? How to start a nonprofit, or like house self history, laws.
When she eventually gets there, she comes back with the badges. So theoretically, she's like making those too. Like just having
Is there a
arts and
button
crafts
maker
time.
in the library?
She's crafting.
Right, like
You know how you can go to the like a public library or like maybe your school library, and there's like a table that has like a hole punch and a stapler and like a laminator and like you can and like a paper cutter, and there would also be like a button maker, and Hermione's just fussing around making buttons.
I like it.
For real, yeah. Like I always wonder about this stuff too, because like there's a lot of button making that goes on in these books, at least in several of them.
Yeah,
and
Potter
like
stinks.
Yeah, the Potter Stinks supports their
That's this book.
Oh, is it this one too? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like,
where are they making? Maybe
why is
there's
there
like
so
one
much
kid.
button making?
There's one kid with a button maker and a fucking hustle. That's what's going on here.
Well, side hustle.
and the only time that magic ever doesn't work right is surrounding those Potter Stinks buttons too, because like they can't get them to not say Potter Stinks. Like they tried to like transfigure them and it didn't work correctly. And like that has always blown my mind that like there's a spell that like because the spells are pretty straightforward in this series. Like there's not a whole lot of interpretation to what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
So like
true.
They've got some secret spell that like writes different stuff on buttons, and it's just apparently really hard to do.
The only exception to that is transfiguration. I think transfiguration, like as a practice, as like something that you can teach to other people, makes no fucking sense. How do you teach someone for like 7 straight years to transfigure everything? It's either like too much time or not enough time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is there a difference? Is there a specific spell that like turns mice into teacups?
Right.
Would that spell also turn mice into other things, or
right?
turn other things into teacups? I have no idea.
There must be just like 1,000 or more than 1,000 spells to learn.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just like
so
many.
How do you say that you're confronted with a teacup in a dark alley, and you need to, or a mouse in a dark alley? You need to turn into a teacup.
I was gonna say, what's the teacup doing in the dark alley?
The mouse in the dark alley. You need to turn into a teacup. How are you gonna remember? Do you need to like factor in the tide conditions, or like what's going on here?
It's very, very silly.
Because that's how it works in freaking Name of the Wind.
Oh, Name of the Wind.
Yeah, that stupid high fantasy series where like every time they do magic.
Do you not enjoy those books?
No, I love those books, but the magic is
do?
stupid complicated.
Oh, okay. I'm the only person I know who did not enjoy reading Name of the Wind, so I'm trying to find just even one.
Oh no, I absolutely adored it.
Okay, I had like a fine time, but anyway, that's not what this podcast is about.
Yeah, no, fair.
Next they go to divination. Professor Trelawney immediately predicts difficult times ahead for Harry. Wait, she's not wrong though.
Right. This is the thing though. She's never wrong when it comes to Harry, right? Because his life is just so unfortunate. He's always in crazy situations. And he's just like, oh, she's an old fraud. There's no way this is going to happen to me.
It always does though, Harry.
It's like, kid, your number is constantly up, man. Constantly.
Right. He's just like, he just refuses to engage. I think it's just like the drama. He's like, I can't with this. And I get that for sure.
Is it me? Am I the drama? Like, yeah, Harry, everybody's just trying to have a normal year, and you keep messing everything up.
It's true. God, it's so true. In divination, they're starting star stuff, astronomy, astrology.
Yeah.
Wait, one or both of those. I think it's kind of like both.
Well, they take astronomy.
That's why I was confused, because I was like, they do take astronomy.
So I guess they're learning to apply their astronomy to astrology.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, star stuff.
Star charts.
Yeah.
Horoscopes, star charts. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You've got 2 Jupiters or 2 Saturns or whatever. 2 Neptunes.
Trelawney guesses that Harry was born in midwinter, bless her heart. Although he does act like he was born in midwinter, I think. But whatever. That's just my personal.
Is that your read on him?
Here's the question, though. What do we know? Do we know Tom Riddle's birthday?
Ooh.
I don't remember.
Like, is she reading the Horcrux?
Hey, Leela, this is not a sound effect. This is my actual keyboard. I've gotten feedback that my keyboard sounds like a dramatic, ridiculous sound effect. Tom Riddle was born on December 31st.
Wow.
Wow. So she isn't completely wrong.
That's pretty cool. Ethan did it.
Boom. Figured it out.
Crushed it.
That's my theory. My going theory is that Trelawney's correct about everything constantly, and that if we look hard enough, you can trace every single thing she says to some stupid event. Because the author here, she who must not be named, is obviously the master of foreshadowing, like one of the greatest writers ever when it comes to foreshadowing correctly. So everything has a purpose, right? A place for everything, and everything is place. Even if she has to make it up later, it becomes convincing.
That's something you do as a writer, especially when you're writing a series like this, is just keep leaving stuff for yourself to maybe use later.
Leave little breadcrumbs. Have Nearly Headless Nick push over a cabinet in the second year that eventually needs to be broken 5 years later.
Right.
It's perfect.
So they start filling out their birth charts. That's it. That's what they're doing. Next, they go down for dinner. And Malfoy comes to read to them. It's an article about how Arthur Weasley went to help Mad I Moody, who is, quote, no longer able to tell the difference between a handshake and attempted murder.
So rude.
Yeah, and the bonkers thing is that this incident was definitely not a false alarm.
Yeah. They're just gaslighting him the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, though, I think Rita Skeeter wrote that article.
Oh, yes.
It is weird, though, because in the middle of the article, it says, writes Rita Skeeter, special correspondent.
Who do you think you are?
So I'm is she, speaking about herself in the third person?
I guess she works for, the Wizard AP. She's, the
so
Associated
weird.
Press
Yeah.
of Wizarddom. I don't know. She's I tweeted a couple weeks ago and said, "Hi, my name is Rita Skeeter, and I'll be your plot device for the next 700 pages."
Yeah.
And it's just
True.
every single book has that person, but hers is very much I'm going to participate in this through articles and crap like that, where I'm just gonna fry people. How old were you when you realized that Rita Skeeter is supposed to rhyme?
Oh.
Today. I was years old.
Rita
Skeeter.
Rita Skeeter.
During the course of this podcast, I forget who, but someone had to explain to me that it's not weird that this series says instead of because the sound is the same in the UK. I was like, oh my god, this whole time I thought they were I don't. I'm like, Harry, close your mouth. What are you doing?
You just picture Harry sitting there
yeah, that's what I pictured my entire life. But it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, Rita Skeeter.
Rita Skeeter. Yeah, that sounds way better. She frames it like Arthur kind of disgraced the Ministry by even going to handle this. Mad I Moody's alarm.
Ugh. And calls him Arnold.
Yes, that's rude.
Can't even get his name right. Probably got it wrong on purpose.
Yeah.
It's probably for the best. He can be like, that's not me.
That's not, who was that? I don't know.
That's my cousin Arnold.
Except that he is pictured in the article. So.
Oh yeah, I did forget about that.
I just have an imagination of Cornelius Fudge calling Rita Skeeter and being like, "Hey, can you just fry this guy real quick? We all hate him, right? Nobody wants him around. This dude, disassembles plugs. Please."
The media has a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and none of it is correctly handled.
Yeah.
All muckraking, nothing but muckraking. The Daily Prophet is maybe the worst fictional paper literally ever.
What does muckraking mean?
It's the 1920s practice, whatever, of just fake journalism, essentially.
Just slander.
Yeah.
I see.
It's like a dual U.S. history ID term, you know. Things that stick in my head.
I see. Well, I learned something new today. Malfoy calls Molly Weasley fat, which is, here's the thing. She is fat. And there's like a lot of other fat characters in the series that are represented like really cruelly. And Molly Weasley is never represented in that cruel lens except through Malfoy.
Right.
And so it's so wild that like the author was like, you see how shitty Malfoy's being about this like perfectly nice woman. So that's how you know he's evil, okay, kids? But she did the same thing with her own characters.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like, it's always interesting to get in those concepts of, like, yeah, you have to write the biases in. Like,
yeah, there's, like, a way to do it, you know, where the narrative isn't being shitty. It's like these characters are being shitty. There's a way to do it, and it was not executed in a lot of different ways about a lot of different things that we've talked about, honestly.
Right, like, why is money so important? Constantly. Like, why does it matter? Why does Ron need to be poor? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't
Choices.
know. You're magic, right? Like, why does...
Yeah, no, I know. Because, like, bare minimum, you can, like, have at least, like, a thriving business. Especially if you live around muggles, you can just have, like, the dopest produce around. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be ridiculous.
Right. Azio tomato.
Right.
Done. Just robbing people constantly.
Molly could, like, enter county fairs and get awards for, like, the biggest pumpkin. Oh, although probably that would go to Hagrid. Remember his giant pumpkins?
Yes.
Oh, my God, yeah. Yeah. Big pumpkins.
Like, you can sleep on that pumpkin.
I mean, that would be crazy, though. And I'm sure people do it. Like, I'm sure Mundungus Fletcher does that.
Like, Mundungus would.
Enters, local fairs, the huge
That's
pumpkin
hilarious.
competition, you know.
That would be a fun hustle.
Yeah.
So they're like fighting and like they're holding Ron back. Malfoy's being really shitty, and then Harry and Ron and Hermione turn around to leave, but like suddenly there is a bang. Oh no, you don't, laddie. I fucking love it. So vivid, like right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Malfoy tries to like curse Harry's ear off or whatever, and then Moody's just like, not happening. No shot.
If Malfoy and Harry just made out, they would not have all this tension between them. I don't know.
One of these days, we'll get the Harry Potter that we deserve, where Harry and Malfoy are just star-crossed lovers.
Yes. Okay, so Harry turns around and there's a ferret, like a white ferret. Some might say platinum blonde. And Mad I Moody's pointing his wand at it. Okay, this ferret is Malfoy.
Yeah. This is one of the best images the books ever present to me. Like,
Yeah.
I agree.
it's so vivid. It's so detailedly written. That, like, I can picture what's going on in that scene at any given time in my life. Like, this scene sticks with me so much.
I think that's the main reason they decided to include it in the movie, just because it was so good. It was
Yeah,
a little
very
different,
visual.
but yeah.
And, like, not that hard to animate because it's, like, a much smaller ferret. So you can just get a real ferret and figure it out from there.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a real animal that you don't have to construct from base zero of
Right.
giant murder shrimp.
There's no pus involved.
There's no pus involved.
And I think part of what makes this scene so vivid is how quickly McGonagall arrives, and like that interaction like really brings the scene to life. So Moody is bouncing Malfoy around as a ferret. Apparently Malfoy tried to attack when Harry's back was turned. And then McGonagall rolls in and is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what is with this ferret?
What
and
is
he's like,
happening?
teaching, I think is what he says.
I love that.
Yeah. We never use transfiguration as a punishment.
Which means, like, yeah, they totally used to, right? Like, somebody did it, so it has to be a rule, right?
Right.
That's true.
And two, I want to be in the meeting where Moody and Dumbledore sat down, and Dumbledore was like, listen, Alistair, you cannot hex the kids. You cannot curse the kids. You cannot transfigure the kids. But, like, I'm not going to do anything about it.
He has a very laissez-faire leadership attitude.
Dumbledore? Very much so.
Yeah. That's why Hagrid has the lessons that Hagrid has.
That's why Hagrid is employed as a teacher.
Yeah, Dumbledore's like, I keep this school open for the sole purpose of educating this single kid to make sure that he does what I tell him to later on in life.
It's so hard to educate like 200 kids at once, okay? Focus on one
so
at a time.
hard.
Pick your favorite.
I need to gaslight this one child for 6 years, and then I'm gonna fucking peace out and die.
Oh my god. That's like a great synopsis of just Dumbledore's entire story.
For real. Like, because the author tries to paint Harry as a bad guy for not trusting Dumbledore, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't blame you, honestly.
Yeah, I would not trust Dumbledore. At all. So McGonagall changes Malfoy back into a human. Moody literally could not care less.
Yeah, couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's very cavalier.
Yeah.
And then Malfoy's like, yeah, my dad's gonna hear about this, and Moody's like, I know your dad, buddy. Listen, we're old friends.
Yeah, it's like, it's so bonkers to me whenever I reread these. It's like, they really don't even properly suspect that Lucius Malfoy is a Death Eater until like about now. And it's like, how, I feel like there's just like a lot, but I guess he doesn't even learn what a Death Eater is until this book, which is so bonkers to me.
Yeah. Because nobody will just talk to the kid, right? They won't just tell him what's going on, ever.
But here's the other thing is he does not open a book about, like, contemporary history. I know they mention books, I think, when they're doing a bunch of research about the Gillyweed. They mention these, or maybe it was when they were looking up Nicholas Flamel, whatever. Yeah, contemporary history book that has, like, stuff about him in it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I would read that.
Right, yeah, there are books that mention you, Harry. I mean, he's the worst student ever, right? Like,
he is.
There's no way this kid got more than one single owl.
I know. In Defense Against the Dark Arts.
OWL.
Yeah, so Moody's like, okay, well, we're gonna go talk to Snape because Snape is Malfoy's head of house. Mm-hmm. Goodbye. So then Ron is like meditating and he's like, don't talk to me. I want to fix that in my memory forever.
He's like, everyone shut up.
This is the best day. I think he says it's the best moment of my life.
Yes.
This is like such a cute Ron line, you know, like a very Ron line.
It is.
So then, yeah, the twins and Leigh Jordan sit down with the trio in the dining hall, and they're just like raving about how Moody is so badass because he like knows, and he's like been out there doing it.
He like does it, man. Like,
he really does the damn thing,
bro. He's just like out here, like living it.
They're just like building him up to be such a badass, and this is like our first introduction to him. He like comes into the Great Hall all dramatically during a thunderstorm, and this is our first up close, and he's just like a complete loose cannon.
Absolutely, constant vigilance.
Yeah, it only escalates from here. Truly.
Yeah,
it's just so interesting though to like think about the whole Crouch dynamic, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like, we don't really know Mad I Moody.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's wild that, like, Barty Crouch Jr. is, like, one of the best teachers that Harry ever has.
Yeah. And it is also interesting, though, because I'm pretty sure Mad I Moody would have turned Draco Malfoy into a ferret and, like, bounced him around.
See, that's the thing is, like, he's impersonating someone who is, like, bonkers, you know, like like getting a little old, a little bold, you know, like your grandma stops pretending she's not farting and like telling you your boobs are out too much or whatever. Like when she gets old, she just loses her filter. I feel like Moody just does crazy shit. So I feel like it's easy to be like, well, yeah, I could just do crazy shit.
And even later on, when Harry like meets the real Moody in subsequent books, he like has to remind himself that this is not the same guy because he's so much the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how much time Barty Crouch spent like even studying at all, you know, like just even one thing.
That's interesting.
Because he fooled Dumbledore.
Exactly.
Yeah, he fooled Dumbledore, who, as a reminder, can read minds.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't come up enough in this. Like, it never makes sense until it has to make sense.
Ugh.
Well, so Dumbledore is obviously the Gandalf of the Harry Potter world. Like, it's literally just pulled whole hog, full cloth from Lord of the Rings.
Gandalf was so superior.
Gandalf's powers are so wild.
Yeah.
Like, they make no sense. They're back and forth completely. In The Hobbit, he, like, turns a whole battalion of goblins to ash with, like, one wave of his staff. And then the next book, he's like, oh, I can light a fire with my fingers.
It's much more practical.
So Dumbledore's just standing over there like, I'm the greatest wizard that's ever wizarded, and I defeated Gellert Grindelwald by myself. Nobody asks me anything anymore.
Dumbledore is also old and bonkers enough that he has that pass. And I feel like it would be easy to impersonate Dumbledore because you would just say something ridiculous, but like you have to keep it gentle. Maybe I would maybe get caught because I'm an enthusiastic person. Yeah, and you know, I'm not going to say that, like, the portrayal that Michael Gambon does in the movies is bad, but, like, this is where people start to get annoyed with him in this movie specifically because of the incident, right? The singular moment. But, like, yeah, Dumbledore always be saying some wild stuff. Like, he just opens the feast every year with, like, a batshit speech. It's true.
And people are just like, yeah, the greatest wizard ever to live, man.
This guy.
Discovered 9,000 uses for dragon's blood, you know, which seems like a really weirdly contemporary time to have done that in.
Yeah. You're
That's
true. They're very stuck in the past.
And again, in book 7, when somebody is like, yeah, when Dumbledore was 16, he did some wild stuff. And Harry's like, are you kidding me? Albus Dumbledore? Couldn't be him.
Yeah, he was just a little fashy for just a little bit of time.
Hey, look, we all go through our, you know, seize the means of production, destroy the labor forces era. We all go through that, right? Everybody has their you know, reverse communist phase.
Well, that's the end of the chapter. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I love this chapter because, like, I think that Moody is one of the most interesting characters that we were introduced to, even though he's, like, fake the whole time. I truly think he's one of the most interesting characters we're introduced to in the entire series. And, like, I love that the first 2 books, the author was like, yeah, the Defense Against the Dark Arts teachers are useless. And then in the second 2 books, she was like, yeah, okay, but, like, I need Harry to learn stuff. So
right, especially because she needs to start throwing, like, dark arts in there.
Big stuff at him, right? Because like,
also Harry has to be good at like something, like anything,
like anything other than playing a sport,
right?
Being a jock. We don't remember enough that Harry's a huge jock, right? Like,
yeah, it's true.
And he's like, oh man, you know, my dad sucked, and I'm like, yeah, dude, you kind of suck too.
It's true.
Hey,
it's
Harry,
true. Like Harry could.
Have you noticed a lot of people don't like you very much? Like,
yeah. Harry so easily could have gone like the full James path, I think.
For real. But
yeah. He had enough influence from other people that he went a slightly different path.
Definitely helpful that he has Ron and Hermione, because without them, he would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I think also just like him and Ron without Hermione would become nightmares together.
Yeah, no, that's probably true.
Even in this chapter, we see Ron being a nightmare. He's like, let me get a look at Uranus, Lavender. And I was like,
yeah.
My God.
Boo.
I remember being like 12 reading this and being like, wow.
Honestly,
it's funny because it's flirting.
It is, but like, Ron, you're gross, dude. Like, and it's also gross that they date later. I'm just like, okay.
I believe this is when Lavender was still black in the movies, too.
Oh, what? Really? I guess I never noticed that.
Yeah. No, Lavender was originally a black girl in the movies.
Wow, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, that's depressing.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to look closer next time.
Me too.
Anyway, I would definitely be the person to make a joke about Uranus in
for sure.
class.
For sure.
I'm not too good to make a butthole joke.
But like, by the time that these kids are, they're like 15 now? 14, I guess? Yeah.
It's always the book
fair.
plus a 1 in front of it.
Yeah. Like, Harry and Ron remain so clueless about women the entire time that it's just
like
painful.
almost like willfully ignorant.
Like
they're just
willfully
not
ignorant.
even they're not even trying to understand. They're not thinking about it. They're not asking questions. Like they're just like blustering blindly.
Yeah.
And even when Ron and Lavender start hooking up and he talks to Ginny about it and she's like, yeah, we've all been doing this forever. Like, it's just you two weirdos. Like,
Yeah, they're so late. Like, by the time they start caring about it, it's like, where have you been?
Oh,
I mean, you're telling me
man.
you give a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds magic and none of them do drugs? Like, none of them? Like, none of them?
Of course I wonder if there's like spells that feel like drugs, you know?
We've
Yeah.
talked about this.
Well, we just
Talk
have to
about it
remember
again.
we just have
More
to
magic
remember
drugs.
that Harry is, like, we learn everything from Harry's perspective, right? Like, this is the books are written in a very Loctite third-person limited perspective. Like, we only know the things Harry knows, and he is the world's least observant person. So
Yeah.
like it always cracks me up listening or reading back through the books, and I'm like, man, there are so many things going on around this kid right now that he's just like da 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 da, not doing the homework.
There's some meme that goes around every couple of years about how Harry's so clueless he wouldn't notice if like Snape and Flitwick were having an affair or like some other very ridiculous couple like that.
He truly would not.
He has no subtlety. He's like no perception.
And
None.
the shame is that that's the stuff that we want to know.
I know.
Right, like these are the things we want to know about, and truly,
Come
I think
on, Harry.
like sometimes it feels like a deliberate move from the author to keep the fan fiction community alive. Of like, she gave us just enough to write about, but not enough to like have it covered in the book.
Yeah, it is good to have room for fan fiction because then you get some really creative interpretations, and I love that.
And then you get My Immortal.
My Immortal, wow, that is a great time to plug our Patreon. Because we definitely covered My Immortal over on Patreon.
Nice.
And like I had such a good time with that episode. It was probably my favorite bonus episode we've ever done.
That thing goes off the rails in a big, big way.
It was extremely fun to read.
Yeah, it's something.
It made me listen to my like old school punk rock shit for like 5 days after I read that. I was listening to a lot of like Fall Out Boy from Under the Cork
Oh, yeah,
Tree,
'cause
my
they go to,
favorite
like,
album of all time.
They go to like a Good Charlotte concert at
They go
Hogwarts.
They are like obsessed with Good Charlotte in My Immortal. It's okay. Anyway, listen to the episode. Join us on our Patreon.
Oh man, all of the content warnings, all of them, every
Yeah.
single one you can think of. Assume.
I think you did start that episode with like so many trigger warnings.
Yeah.
The episode starts with, this is a trigger warning for everything, as Ethan has said, but like, please know that like none of it is presented in an even remotely like convincing or like artful. It's just like very ridiculous the entire time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a couple episodes of Bacon and Eggs where I've had to get on at the front and just be like, this episode contains trigger warnings for like literally everything.
Yeah.
Everything you can think of. Just don't listen to it.
if you're having a bad day in any
If you're
respect.
having a bad day in any way, if the seasonal affective disorder is really getting you, please don't.
Well, cool. Are we ready to move on to plugs?
I think so.
Show.
Okay. I would love to start by plugging our Patreon. As I just mentioned, we talk about some pretty cool stuff over there. We've talked about My Immortal, and for Christmas, we're going to be covering the Hogwarts School of Prayer and Miracles, which is a Christian rewrite of the first, like, 10 chapters or something. I kind of forget.
What?
Yeah, it's very funny.
Oh my god.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to those.
Yes, yeah. Also, just like this episode, my notes say this episode comes out the day before Thanksgiving. Do with that with what you will. I don't really like Thanksgiving. It's a shitty holiday with a shitty history, and my husband and I get super stressed about family holidays because all our parents are divorced. So
Yep.
we're fleeing to New Orleans. I hope everyone is having at
Wait.
least.
Christina,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's so fun.
Yeah, we're bailing on Sunday
Oh
for
my
a week.
God. Good for you.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're really
Thank
doing
you.
it.
So I hope everyone has as great of a Thanksgiving as I do.
We won't.
Congrats.
We simply
Yeah.
will not. It's
We
not
won't.
possible.
All right, well, I'll send thoughts and prayers or love and kisses.
Yeah.
Prayers and
Yeah,
miracles.
don't
or
pray for
something.
me while you're in New Orleans. I don't need that. You might, if you pray for me while you're in New Orleans, you might accidentally pray to the wrong thing and like really mess my life up.
Never pray to the gods who answer after dark.
That's what we've learned.
That's
Okay.
a quote from The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab.
I
10
Did
out
you
of
see
10. Recommend.
that they're making a movie?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I have to
I really
Okay.
need to read that book, but I have a passionate hate for hardback books that I've developed this year.
listen to it. Is there an audiobook?
There is, but like I already own the hardback. I just haven't read it. It's just on my shelf
Well, I
staring
really
at me.
recommend it.
Yeah, it's worth
Yeah.
it. Grace read it and then handed it to me, and I read it immediately. I'm pretty sure.
But I'm running out of. I'm like 90% of shelf read right now. So like I need.
Wow,
I'm gonna have to.
that goal.
That's amazing.
That is.
That
it's
is
crazy.
that's my goal. I've been trying to churn through my TBR pretty fast, also. So Godspeed to everyone on their reading goals for 2021.
It's been a crazy year.
Christina, you've been doing great.
Thank you.
You've been reading so much. I'm so jealous.
Thank you. My goal for 2022 is to work less, read more.
Work less, read more.
Love that.
My notes also remind me to wish a happy Hanukkah to our friends who will be observing. I guess it starts kind of early this year.
It
so
is super early this year. I am unprepared.
honestly, I like it. Spread the love around a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
Well, good luck on your shopping, though, Grace.
Thank you.
I haven't started shopping for any of the seasonal holidays.
Yeah.
Everyone from me this year is getting a book or a charity donation, and those are your two options, and it's not negotiable.
That's incredible. Like that, and that's literally what I'm telling everybody. Everybody's like, "What do I get you for Christmas?" And I'm like, "Books. Buy me books.
Just books, yeah.
Just send me a book." And they're like, "What kind of books do you like?" I'm like, "Send me a book you think I'd like. Pick one up off the
send me
table."
a book that like was meaningful to you. Is
Right?
always what I
Yeah.
tell
Just
people.
literally, I read 157 books this year. I'm out of things that I like.
Yeah.
I don't like
Well,
enough.
And also, I think that people who maybe like don't read like every single day are like, shouldn't you be like selective about your book choice?
Nope.
And it's like, no, I'm
Nope.
pretty indiscriminate.
Pretty indiscriminate.
I'll read everything. Although
Yep.
nonfiction November is not going well. I've read half of one nonfiction.
Oh, I didn't even bother. Like literally, if I pick up a book and it doesn't interest me in the first like 15 pages, I will just throw it across the room and grab something else.
Yeah,
I mean, there
for
are just
sure.
way too many books in the world to be
Yeah.
spending our time reading things we don't really want to be reading.
Oh, yeah,
Life
I'm,
is too short.
I am for sure in that camp of you do not owe anything to the book.
Yeah.
Like, don't burn it, but like it's just put it down.
Pass
Yeah.
it
Read something
along.
else. It's totally fine.
Trade it on paperback swap. Here,
Yeah.
that'll be my plug
Oh,
this
yeah.
week. I
That's
forgot
a
we were
good
doing
one.
plugs. We're just having such a lively conversation. I keep forgetting what we're doing.
Here's a wild idea. Give it to somebody and be like, I didn't like this. See if you do. And if you don't, give it to somebody else. We
I
will
would never-
find the person for this book.
I would never read that. Maybe it's because I've worked too long in publishing. I'm like, there are some books that will never find their audience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
I implicitly trust Reese Witherspoon. I have
Oh,
not
yeah.
I have not read a bad Reese rec all year.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Where were we? I'm doing my plug.
Yes.
You can follow me on Instagram at Christina the Con. You can follow me on Twitter at Christina Con. You can follow me on TikTok at Sprouts Private Stash. You can check out my brand as new business, wildlingpress.com at Wildling Press on every social media. Yes, I got the same handle everywhere. It's a miracle.
I'm so
Incredible.
proud of you.
Thank you. This week I'm going to recommend, as I mentioned earlier, Paperback Swap. It's my favorite fucking website. You can trade paperbacks with people. Edited to add that this is not exclusively paperbacks. The name is a little misleading. You can trade any format of book, including audiobooks and stuff like that. Not ebooks, though, I think. I think it's only like audiobook CDs and tapes. So if you're into that, cool. Then they're there. They're there on Paperback Swap. You can go on like wish lists, go on hold for books that are like going around, like newer ones, and they get sent to you eventually.
That's so
and
cool.
Then you send books to other people, and I'm like receiving and getting like at least one book a week, and you just have to pay a couple bucks for postage, and it's incredible. So paperbackswap.com, I think is what that is. Whatever, I'll link it in the show notes.
Nice.
Grace,
Yes.
do you want to be found on the internet?
I mean, there's nothing interesting there.
Find her at wildlingpress.com.
Yeah, wildlingpress.com.
100years.com.wildlingpress.
I need to send you my bio, so look out for that.
And a higher quality headshot. Okay, so actually don't find her there because her headshot is pretty low quality.
Don't do it. Don't do it. But
check back in 2 weeks.
WordPress.com/graceball. See where that gets you.
See what happens. Let me know. You find it, you let me know.
GeoCities.com/where in the world is Graceball?
Maybe one day I'll be active on social media. I think probably sooner rather than later. But anyway.
Oh, sure.
I mean, if you don't get on now, I think all the social media is just going to fall into the abyss here shortly.
I think that's probably true.
We can only hope.
Now that the Zuck decided to rebrand Facebook.
Oh, Jesus.
I actually, Grace, I am honored that you changed your Facebook cover image for the first time since I met you like 6 years ago. And I am in it. So that's extremely flattering.
Incredible.
Our Wildling Press crew. I had to do it. I was like, these are my people.
Tell me about this Wildling Press thing.
Yeah, so Christina and I have started a small independent publishing house called Wildling Press, where we aim to amplify marginalized voices and help new and learning authors just like learn about the publishing industry.
My God.
We launched over the weekend. Well, last weekend.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Very excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for asking, because I asked all of our network pod siblings to plug my new business as a favor to me on their podcast, and they all did, and then I forgot to do it on my own podcast.
I guess we did.
So thank you so much for asking.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Christina and I met working at a local publisher in Richmond, and so
it's true.
We've decided to embark on our own journey.
I was like, do you like Harry Potter? And she was like, I like Harry Potter. And I was like, I think we're going to be friends.
It's happening.
And then you met Mary Clay Watt.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, it really, that's something that just like solidifies a friendship with someone. Except Haley, we're friends with her because we were like, and Andrew, both of those friendships started with a passing Lord of the Rings comment.
Nice. Hey, I mean, it happens. There's no better way to meet people.
Yeah, exactly. Just nerd out and wait for them to come to you.
Exactly.
Grace, what have you been reading, watching, playing, listening to recently that you would like to recommend to the listeners?
I have been so incredibly busy lately, and I feel like I haven't had time to do any of those fun things. So I'm going to plug a book that I have not, in fact, read, which is really risky, but I learned about it yesterday, and so did you, Christina, when we attended a virtual publishing seminar, and it was full of very stellar panelists, one of whom was an author named Ryka Aoki, and she has a new book called Light from Uncommon Stars, and from what I can tell, it seems very cool. And so I will read you two endorsements, just to give you a little something. This is from Kirkus, filled with mouth-watering descriptions of food and heart-swelling meditations on music. This novel is an unexpected gift. So that's good. And then this one's from Booklist. Aoki's novel is an exciting wild web of an adventure, an unput-downable book about music, found family, and identity. Diving into the tough subjects, Aoki's book emerges with a joyful, queer, radical ballad of a story. So, I mean, if that doesn't get you, I don't know what will.
God, I want to spend my life just writing book endorsements.
I know. Those are really solid endorsements.
They're vivid.
They really are.
Excited to read that book. I plan to read it.
I put it on my TBR. So
you should. So
I'll keep you posted.
If you read it before I do, let me know. Let me know.
There's a 75% chance I'll read it before you do, unless you have plans to read it within the next 5 days.
Wow, I don't. So you got this. Ethan, let me know how it is.
I have to do a book a day for the rest of the year, okay? Which means I need to finish Mockingjay tonight.
Ethan, it's gotta be you who goes on. Not me, not Hermione.
Not me, not Hermione, you.
Yo!
Yeah, that must be a tour book, because that seminar we did, or webinar we watched was a tour books webinar, which was very cool.
It was.
I mean, they are an aggressively prolific publisher, that is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of tour books, and actually, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is a tour book.
Is it
Grace.
really?
I realized that we were talking about who has tour books during this webinar, and I was like, I have a bunch because it's science fiction. I'm a big sci-fi nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab, which I really loved.
I love her.
Yeah, I haven't read that
I
one.
have not read Addie LaRue yet.
I haven't read that one either, but she is awesome.
I will get on that.
Grace and I got into her. It's going on a tangent. Grace and I got into her because we went to the National Book Festival, right? And in DC, and we saw her speak, and we were like, well, this bitch is cool.
I had never heard of her before, and then we saw her, and she was wearing these little, like, cat ears, and she was just, like, the cutest thing ever, and we were like, wow, we love her.
Extremely cute.
Yeah, literally, my fiance just picked up Addie LaRue at Barnes & Noble because the cover looked cool. I was just like, I want to read this. She has not read it. Neither of us have.
Oh, my God.
But I didn't realize until much later that it was the same person that wrote A Dark Shade of Magic.
Yeah.
And you liked A Dark Shade of Magic?
Yes, I did.
Okay, nice. Okay,
I really did.
We'll read that one next, Grace.
Fantastic world building.
Yeah. All right. Ethan,
can I recommend a book?
Well, yes, you can.
Oh, okay. What were you going to ask, though? I interrupted you.
I was just going to ask where people can find you on the internet, but you can do those questions in reverse order.
No, I'll do them in normal order. You can find me on the internet on Twitter at WowNow, W0WN0W. You can find me on Instagram at Edghill Photos, EDGHILL, photos spelled like regular photos. There's only one E in my last name. People have messed it up as long as I've been alive.
I personally messed it up, and I regret that error.
It's totally
but I
fine.
Fixed it.
My fiance's sister invited Ethan Edghill with 2 E's to her wedding, so I had to go anyway, sadly, even though I didn't get invited. But if you want to listen to my podcasts, you can find me at Bacon and Eggs Pod, or my show Bacon and Eggs Movie Lovers Podcast, where we cover a movie every Thursday, me and my buddy Tyler from high school. And you new episodes every Thursday where we get your podcast now on Spotify. And I'm also on Late to the Party, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play podcast where I play a former Broadway actor who learned to do magic accidentally. And it's a good time. I do a bunch of podcasts all over the internet. It's fun. As far as a book recommendation, I'm going to give you two. One is one of my favorite books I've read all year. It's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that book every single day, and you should read it. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about just because it's great. It's about a library and death and stuff. And you should read it. It's really cool. And then also I want to recommend Damnation Spring by Ash Davidson, which is a book about loggers in Northern California in the 70s. And that sounds like it'd be really boring, and it's really, really not.
Ooh, okay. Cool. It does sound like it would be really boring.
Also, you should pre-order a book called, if you're in the United States, you should pre-order a book called Lockdown on Linden Lane by my good friend Beth Reekles.
Yes, we love Beth. She was on the show like 1 to 4 episodes ago.
Yeah,
I saw, very cool. Yes. Her new book is coming out in February. I got to read it as an advanced reader copy, and it's so good.
Amazing.
I pre-ordered mine through Bookshop. That is my recommended place to pre-order books or buy any books ever.
Absolutely. I love that place. They get it to you on time. You would never notice that you didn't buy it from Amazon. It's fantastic.
Right. Yeah, even similar packaging.
For real. Yeah, it comes in like record mailers, which is interesting because I order a bunch of records. So
you never know what it's going to be.
Yeah, sometimes it turns out to be a book, but it's fantastic, and I love Beth. She's my favorite. I just read both the Kissing Booth books yesterday. The first two in the last 2 days.
Those are also on my TBR shelf. So we all have some reading homework, and then we'll get together in a couple months and talk about it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And in a couple months, I will be free from this torturous prison of books that I've put myself in. And I can just go back to reading. Well, I don't think I'll ever go back to the person I was before this, but I can go back to reading like a normal amount of books.
I love that. Well, Ethan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute delight to be on this podcast.
Yeah, and we hope to have you back for an episode of, what's the next book? Order of the Phoenix.
I would be super glad to. I promise to check my email this time, but just in case, just DM me on Twitter.
I always do. We're going to need some good friends to get us through that long, depressing book.
I love that book. That's my favorite one.
Okay, great. That's the kind of enthusiasm we need. Yeah.
That's my favorite one. The writing is so good. It's so depressing.
Dang, it was so good to see you, Ethan.
I know, right? What a wild, small world we live in.
I know. I love it.
I love it. Yep, I love it. All right, gang, I gotta go finish reading Chicken Soup for the Ferret's Soul before this book scurries away from me. Bye.
Bye.
The Restricted Section is thrilled to be a member of the Movie Night Crew podcast network, which features amazing other podcasts such as My Cabbages, an Avatar podcast. My Cabbages is an Avatar The Last Airbender podcast that was started by two lovable nerds during a global pandemic to stave off their inevitable existential crisis.
Coffee, tea, honor, cabbage. Long ago, the four elements lived in harmony. Then, shit went totally cray when the Avatar attacked. Only the Cabbage Man, merchant of fine cruciferous vegetables, could stand against his trolling. But when the world needed some dank veg, he vanished. 10 years have passed, and my partner and I have started a new podcast.
My Cabbages! An Avatar podcast.
A weekly show about Avatar The Last Airbender. Whether it's Sokka's new line of cologne.
Hey, look at you, sitting there on a seal. Well, now look back at me. I'm on an even bigger seal. Now look away.
D&D related antics.
You have to make an acrobatics check for that. And Aang just unzips his pants and whips out his D20s. He's just I got this.
Or randomly breaking into song.
Go bending waterfall.
We'll stumble our way through the greatest show ever made, one episode at a time.
You can reach us at CabbageCast, which is our Twitter, or
Subscribe wherever you catch pod.
Rotten cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
The Restricted Section was created by me, Christina Kahn, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. All music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Support us on patreon.com/restricted section. For as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to our Discord community server, which is a really happy place to be. And there are other rewards as well, such as bonus episodes and Zoom happy hour hangouts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, on Twitter at Restricted Pod, and on Facebook at Restricted Section Pod. Also, feel free to shoot us an email at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com to share your thoughts, feelings, complaints, conspiracy theories, or even lavish praise.
What kind of wine is that?
This is not wine. This is honey habanero moonshine with seltzer and a little bit of lemon syrup.
Spicy.
Jesus.
It's
I
very
just
delicious.
have water. So boring.
God, you're so Richmond.
I know,
I've
that's
got
true,
an
though.
apple-flavored Mountain Dew. Which
Is that good?
No.
It's
Actually,
bad.
honestly, it's not bad. It is weirdly subtle for Mountain Dew.
I didn't know Mountain Dew could be subtle, so that's...
I didn't either.
That's impressive.
I was expecting to be beat over the head with the apple flavor.
Like electric apple.
Yeah. Well, it's called thrashed apple.
Wow, of course.
And it's got little apple hulks on it.
Oh,
Wow,
yeah.
that's very serious.
Yeah.
That's the apple a day that keeps the fucking doctor away, okay?
This apple does not like the doctor.
No.
That movie sucked. I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.